bringing sports, entertainment, and technology podcasts together. This is SPNT.
You're listening to the Who-Dey Weekly Podcast. Who-Dey Weekly is brought to you by Stitcher.com. Download the Stitcher Smart Radio app today at Stitcher.com/SPNT. What's happening, Bengals fans? Subs here for Who-Dey Weekly, episode 82. Bengals victorious, moving to 2-1 on the year as they hold on late to knock off the Washington Redskins. Glad you could join us for this episode of the podcast alongside Tim Bates. I've got Mickey Mentzer back, and he's on camera, everybody. Clap, clap, clap. What's happening, Mick?
Not much, man. I'm excited to finally see me on this thing. I'm not mailing it in anymore. I'm officially part of the show.
Well, you were officially part of it, but now you're a part of the video portion, and we're glad you're on camera for everybody to see that pretty playoff beard you got growing. For the Reds, of course, not the Bengals, yes. And, of course, we missed you guys both last week. Tim, welcome back. How you been?
Doing good. I've been pretty busy of late, about to get even busier, but
getting busy.
love talking about the Bengals, and especially after a big win like that.
Big win. They knock off the Washington Redskins. It was an interesting game, a game in which the Bengals got off to a big lead, and then for some reason decided to sit back on what they did in the first half, and it almost caught them in the end. The refs certainly didn't help. They played a part in it as well. We'll touch on that and a whole bunch more here on the podcast. Don't forget, you can email us at podcast@whodayfans.com. You can also follow us on Twitter. We are at Who-Dey Weekly. So we have to recap the Redskins game, and then we have to also look ahead to this weekend's game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Bengals making their second trip to Jacksonville in 2 years. Hopefully it goes just like it did a year ago. So, all right, guys, let's get into this Redskins game last week against the Redskins. First play of the game, Mickey, your boy, Mohamed Sanu, finally does something in a Bengals uniform.
I think he started off pretty well, don't you think?
I'd say so.
I could have told you guys about his arm. It's funny, as soon as he threw that pass, I got a text message from a guy that was on the gridiron team with us, and it was just all, caps saying, we knew he could throw that. So it was pretty sweet. And, I mean, what better way to start a game on the road against a team that, you thought you were going to struggle with keeping up with their offense? That was freaking awesome.
When you look at what the Bengals did, game plan, right off the bat, first play of the game, I honestly don't know, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I've missed this in the past, Tim, but I'm not sure I've ever seen them line up in the Wildcat.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I was so excited. I just was blown away and couldn't believe it. It made me immediately start thinking we need to lock up Jay Gruden for a few more years, throw a little extra cabbage his way. Because it seemed like that the team felt like we were going to have a tough fight against the Redskins, and they wanted to pull out all the stops and just hit them with stuff left and right. And I love the approach that they took. They had a lot of tricks up their sleeve, and that first play was, by far the coolest first play of a game that I've ever seen. It was so exciting.
Yeah, if you got to the game late or you were sleeping on Sunday morning, it was a pretty exciting first half for the Bengals, particularly offensively. Armand Binns got into the action. He had a long touchdown, over 40 yards as well. I'm glad I picked him up in fantasy because he helped me beat Mickey this week. It was fantastic. Just a little jab in there. But when you look at the offense as a whole, 2 weeks in a row now, guys, Andy Dalton's thrown for over 300 yards and has had a very good passer rating. Mickey, this is year 2 of Andy Dalton. Everybody questions his arm strength. Now, I will say this. His deep balls, very inaccurate early on. Do you attribute that to more of him trying to prove everybody wrong that he can throw the deep ball? What do you make of him not being able to connect deep?
I mean, that's a tough thing to do. And, not only is he a second-year guy, he's playing with, second, first-year guys, and it's tough to just get that chemistry, get that timing. He may not have the arm that a Carson Palmer had, but I mean, he's doing all the things that he needs to. He's definitely getting the yards he needs to. So I don't think it's an issue. The Bengals, the last thing we should be worried about is the Bengals scoring points this season. It seems like they can score at will. Reminiscent of like the 2005 season. The other side of the ball is where all my concerns are. So I have zero concern in the deep ball or his arm or anything like that. I mean, why do you need a deep ball when you can throw, a 6-yard pass to Hawkins who takes it for 50 yards every week?
That's one of the things too,
Yeah.
Tim. I was to say the run after the catch is something that we have not seen it. We didn't see it much when Chad and TJ were the feature wide receivers for the Bengals under Bratkowski, but now under this West Coast offense, I would think that the run after catch is really more of a focus.
Yeah, I really feel like Marvin has built this team to more reflect the style of play that we're looking for, where you don't necessarily have to have a 1,500-yard rusher to be effective, because you can control the clock with the passing game. And Baby Hawk took the short pass and took it all the way to the end zone, and that it was a very exciting play. I was geeked up about it. He's a personal favorite of mine, and it seems like that the short passing game somewhat supplemented the running game for us. Green Ellis only had 38 yards, though he did get in the end zone, but it gave us more options to attack the Redskins with, and I just thought it was a brilliant game plan offensively. And Dalton was hitting 70% of his passes, which is just pretty much right right where you want your quarterback to be. The only regret that I had for him was the gift interception for a touchdown that they threw in the end zone. Which that one was a head scratcher. I really didn't understand what he was trying to do. I thought it was just a bad play. And granted, they did get some pressure on him. And even Andrew Whitworth gave up a sack, and I think he gave up a couple of penalties. So the line didn't have their best game, but outside of that, like offensively, we were really putting it to the Redskins.
There's one thing that really concerns me with this offense. Yes, it's great to see Dalton connecting on these throws and throwing for over 300 yards, but 93 yards against this is a banged up Washington Redskins team. No Carricker, no Arakpo, and yet they still only managed to get 93 yards rushing against these guys. Mickey, what do you make of the running game so far? It clearly, we like what Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis can do, but even he fumbled this weekend.
Yeah, we knew that fumble was coming. No back, goes through his entire career without fumbling. And I just felt like we talked about it so much that it was going to be, we're going to feel like it was devastating when it happened. I don't know about the running game. And I wish I could go back and look at more tape and see, like, is it the fact that our offensive line is not creating any space for the running game, or are our running backs just not, attacking the hole and getting through? I don't know. It does scare me because, a way to win in the AFC North is to run the ball. Every other team has a running back that's going to punish you. Maybe not the Steelers, but, traditionally their running game has been insane. But look at Ray Rice and Richardson. And the fact that the Bengals don't have any of that, that's a part of their game that scares me. But on the other hand, like, the rest of their offense is just clicking. And like I said before, that's one phase of the team that I'm not too worried about.
I felt like Shanahan was pretty aggressive with the defense, and they really kind of brought the heat on us. And one way to attack that is throwing the ball. And so I kind of felt like they played to what the Redskins had showed us defensively. They weren't able to do that against Baltimore, and I feel like they may have corrected the ship in this game, though granted the Redskins defense in Baltimore, outside of being in the same locality, that they're really not very similar. But I can't fault them too much for it. Also because I feel like not having Bernard Scott really takes away from what we can do rushing. Scott has that breakaway ability, and just the superior top end speed to everybody else, at the position on our roster. So being without him, you have Green Ellis, who, it makes for a great goal line short yardage back, and he can make big plays when the holes are there, but sometimes you got to have your speed guy out there to open up the run. So I'm not going to fault them too much for what they did on the ground, though. It'll be interesting to see how we do against some of the stouter defenses, because Washington really is just pretty awful.
I was surprised, and maybe you guys can, I don't know, vouch for this a little more, or maybe explain it a little better. Washington decided to single cover A.J. Green. Now, do you honestly think there will be a team the rest of this year that will go that route? I mean, that was insane.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty crazy. And, A.J. Green, to me, I think has made that next step into the elite category of receivers. And, he's going to be pretty much uncoverable, from here on, barring some sort of injury or issue like that. But, he just really has the full package of skills, and, he's a very exciting player. Definitely the most exciting and most fantasy worthy player on our team. So, Green is just, ungodly. He's so good. And any team that approaches the game with a single coverage on him is just going to get burned.
Yeah, I mean, he just showed what he can do last week. I mean, what he have 10 looks and 9 catches, and honestly, in a lot of them, he was covered. Like they had good coverage on him, but he's the type of guy that, and I talked about this a lot last year too. Like, he's one of those guys that just finds the ball in the air and focuses on it and doesn't worry about who's covering him or what's going around him. He worries about making the catch and then tries to run. And he's just got so much physical ability that it's insane. Yeah, I'd be surprised to not see safeties over the top anymore. But, I mean, Washington struggles at defense. They have to do something. If they put 2 guys on top of them, then there's another phase of the offense that can exploit it. So, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think of, can Jacksonville do the same thing? And I don't think so. Like, I just have a feeling that A.J. Green's numbers this year are going to be insane.
Well, the cool thing about it, too, is you've got 2 other receivers that have played well when they are shifting the defense over to A.J.'s side, Tim.
Yeah, and I was going to say one other thing about A.J. That, first play of the game, the big touchdown pass from Sanu, they lined the safety up on Green, and the corner rolled over to try to keep up with him because the safety, he literally just torched that guy, and the corner couldn't come close to catching up with him. He literally was faster than everybody on the field, and he's got unbelievable hands. So there's really just no hope in covering him. You had to bracket him every play. Baltimore did a decent job of it. But we do have other weapons, and Gresham had a decent game, and he got the touchdown there in the fourth quarter, and I feel like he can play a lot better. And then we've got Baby Hawk. We've got a lot of weapons, and even Ben's gotten the action with the touchdown. So it's really just a very potent offense. Unfortunately, our defense doesn't quite live up to that level.
Ah, that's what you call a segue, Tim, because I was just going to bring that up. The Bengals had a 14-point lead, it might have even been more. I think it was 14. But either way, they had a big lead, and they allowed Washington to come back. So much so that even our friend Mickey Mentzer here at halftime, or just shortly after halftime, tweeted, "Nice second half adjustment, Bengals." One of the big reasons, and I can't understand this for the life of me, is Ray Maluga. He is the equivalent of Drew Stubbs on the Cincinnati Reds. He's the one guy everybody's going to pick on because really he's kind of put himself in that situation with his comments he made about Trent Richardson. Look what happened there. He didn't back it up this week against the Redskins. Poor game. There was a couple plays where I saw him dogging it. He was jogging. There was a play late in the game. Griffin III is scrambling down the field, and Ray's just jogging, chasing him. I mean, that to me says a lot about our middle linebacker guys. And I don't know how much longer. And I don't understand. Again, there's no depth because everybody's hurt. But at the same time, I don't know how much longer you can count on him being in the middle. Mickey, I mean, what are your thoughts on Ray? I mean, he's in a contract year. He should be doing way better than this. I'm baffled.
I mean, yeah, I did. I mean, I did a little research before the show, and he had 13 tackles, but most of them were, right around 7, 8 yards behind, beyond the line of scrimmage.
How many of those tackles were solo?
I don't know. I didn't look that up, but I mean, you're tackling a guy 7, 8 yards behind. You're not really, impacting you're not helping the defense. And what's the telling stat, I typed it out here, is that there were 7 passes in his zone on his coverage. All 3 were completions for 89 yards, and then on top of that, he missed 3 tackles. So, I mean, that's terrible. That's terrible for what some consider the heart of the defense to, give up everything in your zone and miss your tackles. There's lots of times where he shoots gaps and it's the wrong gap, or he's a second late on a play, or a split second late on a play. But in the NFL, that's all you need. So, I mean, I don't know what the Bengals can do to improve that, but I don't know. It's definitely a weakness, and it shows in the way tight ends can exploit the middle of our defense, and how when receivers cross, it's impossible for us to cover that.
I would like to see later in the year when Vontez gets, a little bit more in tune with what's going on defensively, that, he'll get his shot in the middle and either move Ray back to the outside or bring in somebody else. At this point, I think I would be happy with just about anybody in there. I've just not really I just get aggravated when I see him out on the field because he's just not bringing it. And he's more talented than that, and that's the frustrating part about it. This guy has the ability to do it. It's just he's either not got it mentally or he's not putting in the effort. And I'm not sure what it's going to take to wake him up. Maybe it'll take a benching, or maybe you just let him move on to another team. But I definitely agree with the point you made earlier, Stoops, that the lack of depth at linebacker really kind of forces us to keep him in the game. But I think Vontez has proven far more worthy of playing the middle. And I assume that it's just a case of he doesn't know the defense yet enough to be able to handle all the responsibilities of the middle linebacker spot. Another guy, I'll segue for you again. Another guy that I just was so aggravated with in the game was Pac-Man Jones. He was just, just making stupid penalties, and he really shot us in the foot several times, and it was almost like he was trying to get the Redskins back into the game. I was throwing stuff at the TV when I would see him.
There was a play late in the game, and it wasn't just Pac-Man. Terrence Newman had an awful rough unsportsmanlike conduct play off the sideline. I mean, it wasn't even close, and that too could have cost the Bengals. I mean, there was another play with Newman. Granted, there was a big debate on Twitter about whether or not it was a stupid play, but the Redskins punted it down to the 1, and the Redskins touched it first, and then Newman got in there and threw the ball out of bounds. Or he did something crazy, and everybody in Twitter was up in arms about how stupid that was. And then we had clarification about the rule about, since the Redskins touched it first, it wasn't a fumble. After Newman touched it, it was a bizarre play. And once again, the replacement officials, I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not, but still, it was confusing. We kind of got corrected on Twitter a little bit later. But either way, you don't want your guy down there near the ball. I mean, get away. What are you doing? You saved yourself 3 yards by doing what you did. Granted, it ended up being a touchback on the review, but still, just And I was on the punt team. There was a word we would always yell, and I'm sure they do that on the I have to be certain they do that on the Bengals, to just get away from the ball. And I don't know. That to me, you didn't like Pac-Man. I didn't like Terrence. Was there a player for you, Mickey, that you didn't like?
I gotta agree with Newman. I mean, that hit on the sideline was just stupid, and I mean, it served nothing. And then, I mean, not that this even matters, but he tries to blast Griffin. He gets laid out. Griffin stands there. It kind of fires up the whole sideline. I mean, there was nothing good about that decision to try to hit him there. And I think, that it affected Malaluga on the next play on the other side. He didn't want to do the same thing. It's just dumb. And you would expect a veteran like that to not – I wrote about it today on the site. You would expect a veteran to not make a mistake like that. Other than, those two, I don't know. I'm trying to think of another time where I was just, angry at a play, and I don't know.
I remember one. What about the fake?
It was early when Dalton threw that 0-yard interception touchdown. I was just like, the gut reaction was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, we just dominated. We have a chance to just put it away, and you just hand them. Yeah, that was terrible. But no, I was never that angry. I hear you, Kurt. I think, watching it now, like, either he was hit as he threw it or was tipped, but I mean, something was off there. That's not a decision that I think Dalton makes. But still, live action, my first gut reaction, I was not happy.
That's not even really a route you want to run down there anyway.
Yeah, I was surprised they did that. I mean, that you talked about the running game earlier. That shows the confidence that they have in punching that ball out there. Yeah, and it just took too long to develop. You want to throw that ball much quicker than that. But I don't know. Like Newman and Malaluga, they both frustrated me a lot.
What about and we'll get to this briefly, because I was on board with the call, and again, everybody on Twitter was take the points, but the fake field goal. How shocked were you? I mean, we never ever see Marvin do stuff like this. First, the Wildcat opening play, and then the fake field goal. I mean,
I agree. I mean, we don't see it, but I think that was a terrible time to do it. I mean, you have your foot on the gas. Just keep adding your points. I mean, you think about it. They don't spot him that 7, and we kick that field goal. We're up 27-0 at the half. I mean, that's huge. I don't know why you. I guess it's pinning them deep. Like, I mean, I could see both sides, but I don't know. Like, I just felt like it was poorly executed. I would feel better about, rather than faking it, just lining up and going for it. I mean, then at least you have your weapons on the field. I mean, what are you really going to accomplish by trying to run the ball with your punter? Was it, did Huber run that? I mean, he tried to get Huber 5 yards. Or, I mean, actually, by the snap, he's trying to pick up 9 yards. I mean, that's too tough to do.
Maybe they should explore putting young baby Hawk as the holder.
I think they do that, though. Everyone knows what's.
That's true. What about you, Tim? Did you like the fake field goal call?
I didn't like the call. I wouldn't have done it if it had been Madden. I wouldn't have done it. It's so hard to get. You're talking about guys that aren't exactly known for their speed, and you're gonna snap it to them so many yards deep, and then hope that they can, run up and get the first down. It's just such a rare thing that it works the way you want it to. When it does, you look like a genius, but most of the time you look foolish. So I wouldn't have done it, and I didn't really like the call.
See, I'm on the opposite side here. I loved the aggressiveness. It's not something we see out of Marvin. I liked it. Now, in hindsight, it didn't work, so of course, yeah, it was a bad call now. But at the time, you knew that your offense could move the ball at will against their defense. It showed in the first half. And maybe there was something they saw on film that they knew they could exploit. Now, the execution lacked, but I happen to like the call because you pin them deep. You're making a rookie quarterback go the entire field. And by the way, they got the ball back in midfield after that fake. So it's not like it hurt them in the end. Now, if they had lost by 3 points, of course, I would have been really mad about the fake field goal. But still, I like the aggressiveness. But unfortunately, everybody gets on Marvin about how he's not aggressive, and then when he is aggressive, he gets hell for it. So it's a win-lose situation here, or lose-lose situation for Marvin anyway. I like the call. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Hit us up at podcast@whodayfans.com. Send us your tweets. We are at Who-Dey Weekly. In just a bit, we'll look ahead to Jacksonville, but before we do that, it's time for shout-outs.
Shout-outs!
Mickey, who you got this week?
I'm going to shout out to a new follower I noticed on Twitter, and it's actually another Bengals cheerleader. Her name's Selena Samano, at SS Samano. I'm not really familiar with her, but thanks for the follow, and I'm glad you're spreading the Who-Dey fans word.
Tim, what about you?
I got a new Twitter follower, Brock Collins. Welcome to the machine, as Pink Floyd used to say. And also, I got to shout out my 16-year-old youngest child who just had his birthday this past week. And so, Big Al, Football Master 3 on Twitter. Happy birthday to Alex.
Happy birthday, Alex. Now, he's not is he the Cardinals fan?
Yeah. He's the one that did the draft with us.
That's right. Okay. Your Cardinals are 3-0, Alex. You got to be pretty happy. That was a nice little birthday gift for you. So a double shout-out as well. I'm going to give a shout-out this week to Matt Bowman. You can give him a follow. He's at MattBollmann. Yeah, I don't know why I spelled that out. But there you go, Matt. You have a shout-out. If you want to be shouted out this week on the podcast, hit us up at Who-Dey Weekly. You can also follow Mickey. He is at Who-Dey Fans. And you can follow Tim. He is at Tim Boots, TIMMBOOTS. Follow us there on the Twitter. Don't forget, you can rate and review the show on iTunes. We'd love to hear your feedback, whether it's good or bad. It's been since August since the Who-Dey Weekly Nation has left a review on iTunes, at least in the American store. So please get out there, leave reviews. We want to be the best NFL podcast in the iTunes store. So please, if you could, leave us a review. We would certainly appreciate it. And then big news, Tim and Mickey, you guys remember this from a year ago. The Who-Dey Weekly podcast in 2011 was a finalist in the sports category for the Podcast Awards. And the Podcast Awards start back up this coming Monday, October 1st. We'd love to have your nominations. So if you get a chance, log on to whodayfans.com. There's a little Podcast Awards logo, then the right column there. Just click on that link. It'll have instructions on how to nominate the podcast. We would love to have you guys nominate the show, and we want to win it this year. Last year we were a finalist. We lost to an ESPN podcast. This time, guys, I know for a fact we're going to win it. I know we're going to win it, right, Tim?
Yeah, screw ESPN and Jay Soderbergh. I'm not worried about them this year. We deserve it. We have, a relatively small fan base, but our fans are loyal. They get in the chat room. They tweet us. They enjoy being a part of the show, and I'll put up what we got against ESPN any day.
So those nominations, they start October 1st at podcastawards.com. Like I said, there's a link as well. You can see the big link on the right side of the whodayfans.com page. Check us out there. You can also access it from spnt.tv as well. We'd love to have your nominations. I think we have 15 days to have our podcast nominated. So if you could nominate us for the sports podcast, we would certainly appreciate it. So let's look ahead, guys. Jacksonville is an opponent that strikes fear into some of us when you consider they have the NFL's leading rusher in Maurice Jones-Drew going up against a defense that, let's face it, has not stopped the run all season long. Mickey, let's start with you. Obviously, we know that if you stop MJD, you stop the Jags, but that's easier said than done.
It's true. It is easier said than done, and I don't have the utmost confidence that we are going to stop him. I mean, you could argue that he's the best running back in the NFL, but really, I mean, them running the ball, are they going to be able to put the kind of points up that our offense is? I really think it's on them to hang with us in scoring. I mean, we're starting to get national attention in the kind of quick, the potent offense we have. So I don't know. I mean, I hate to go into a game saying we're going to outscore them. That's how we're going to win. I'd love to say that Atkins is just going to keep disrupting and Pecco. I mean, I just think our defensive line we're great in pass, getting in there to disrupt the passing game, but I don't know what we're going to do in the running game. So I don't know. I think the Bengals are going to do it. I just don't know that. I wouldn't tell anyone that has Jones-Drew on their fantasy team to sit him this week.
Tim, when you look at last year's game, Bengals victorious 30-20. Andy Dalton, 21 of 33 for only 179 yards passing. He did have the 2 touchdowns, but Jones-Drew, 19 carries, 85 yards a year ago. And that was back when the Bengals defense was actually, stopping the run and playing well. Here we are, fast forward 12 months later. How concerned are you?
I'm really not concerned. I feel like they cannot hang with our offense. And, if we need to get in a shootout with them, which I honestly can't see Jacksonville being able to do, but I feel like we would come out on top anyway. But one thing good on defense emerged last weekend. That was getting some pass rush and, actually keeping MJD or whatever the
RG3.
RG3. I knew it was the initials, but keeping RG3 on the run, putting him on his back a few times, just having Dunlap back seemed to make a huge difference in what we were able to bring pressure-wise. And I think once we get the lead, we're going to unleash the dogs, and Gabbard's just going to be on his back the whole night. So it's going to be awesome. I really think we're going to lay it to him.
Wow, you're a glass half full kind of guy tonight, Tim. I'm nervous.
I know, and that's rare.
I'll tell you what, I'm nervous because I have not seen anything out of this defense this year that tells me that they're going to stop the run. They can't even make tackles, and you got a small guy in Maurice Jones-Drew that can just he can take it to the house on any given play. Now, we know that last year when the Jaguars when the Bengals played them, I think Gabbert was just in his second start. So it wasn't he had no experience. Now he's had a whole offseason to prepare and get ready. And so far he's looked okay. He's not, tearing the cover off the ball, to use a baseball analogy, but he's still in his second year and still learning the NFL. But I firmly believe, and maybe and again, we don't have any depth at linebacker. We're short in the secondary as well at safety. It looks like Clements may not even play, Mickey.
I know, the boot, and I mentioned in the chat room earlier that scares me. I think Clements needs some work at safety, but I think he's filling in well, and I think his veteran presence, for what we have is good for us. And yeah, our secondary just can't afford to get more injuries. So yeah, I'm nervous about that.
It's. Again, I'm trying to, and normally I'm the most positive Bengal fan out there, but the defense has not shown me anything so far this year, and I'm surprised. Again, we haven't seen our defense at full strength all year. Injuries have just crippled this defense, and it was nice to see Carlos Dunlap back. That certainly showed this weekend, like you said, Tim. And big kudos to Michael Johnson, who won NFL or AFC Defensive Player of the Week award this week for his game. 3 sacks against the Redskins I think he had 5 tackles. So kudos to him. Need another big game out of him. But really, if this is the game that Ray Maualuga can come out and make a statement, this has to be it.
Yeah, it's put up or shut up time for Ray, and he just needs to strap on his helmet a little tighter and just go crazy out there. I'm not worried, man. I feel like we're just gonna lay the wood to him.
Yeah, I'm not worried either. I don't think I don't think the Bengals struggle with this game. Like we talked about how early in the season this schedule is favorable for us. So I think that our true tests are coming later. So yes, there's going to be parts of the game that's frustrating, but yeah, I'm not worried.
Well, I don't know. I'm nervous, but that's just me. Maurice, we've seen it on SportsCenter and on Sunday in the Football Night in America. We all see the highlights of him taking footballs to the house. So and it's not just the running game, guys. It's the screen game. He's a great receiver as well. So the Bengals do have their hands full this week, and let's hope that they can finally somehow put together a complete defensive effort this week, because they're in for a tough task. I don't care if it's Blaine Gabbert back there or Mark Brunell. It's going to be tough playing down in Jacksonville this weekend. And let's hear some predictions. Tim, what do you got?
Like I said, I really feel like we're going to get the lead early. They're going to have to throw Dunlap and Johnson are just going to go crazy. I'm thinking 42-28.
Wow. What about you, Mickey?
I'm not going with as much scoring. I think that they're going to handle this one a little better. So I'm going Bengals win 27-16.
27-16. All right. I think that I'm torn, because the Bengals offense has done some great things this year. So I'll say the Bengals 28, Jacksonville, I'll say 24. 28-24. Bengals win with a touchdown late in the fourth quarter to knock off the Jaguars. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so make sure you hit us up at podcast@whodeydayfans.com. Send us your predictions and your thoughts as well. That's going to wrap things up for this edition of Who-Dey Weekly. Just a quick announcement. Next week, we will not be doing a live show on Wednesday night because I'll be traveling out of town. Normally, I give Tim and Mickey the grief because they are busy, but now this time it's actually me, so you guys can lay it on me. I get it. Yeah. But I'll be in Nashville next week. So right now, tentatively, but I'm pretty sure we've got it set that we're going to do the show Sunday night at 9 o'clock Eastern. So if you want to tune in, check us out. The Bengals kick off at 4, so it'll be a perfect time to vent either your frustration or your joy that the Bengals are now 3-1 on the year. So yeah, check it out. Sunday night at whodayfans.com/video at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be live with Who-Dey Weekly. Mickey and Tim, it's been a pleasure. Mickey, you look good on camera, man.
Thanks. I'm glad you get to stop bugging me about it.
Absolutely. Tim, we got to do something about that garage, though. We're working on it slowly but surely.
Tonight I was thinking it would be cool to set up my Sizzling Steve puppet stage in the background or something. But I'll probably just come up with some little backdrop to put out there, and just make it look a little bit cooler.
Hey, you look cool, my friend. Don't you worry. You look cool. What's going on with your Wildcats?
Dude, don't get me started. They did not play their starting quarterback, and the backup was not a Division I quarterback. We'll just put it that way. But I'm jealous, man. I see Mickey's beard, and every year in November I do the no shave November thing, and for an entire month I'll just grow whatever I can grow, and I've never had a beard like that, so I'm very jealous, Mick.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you appreciate.
Before we go, it reminds me too, because in November, Tim, you and I will be hanging out at the Bengals-Raiders game, November 25th. You have a chance to win 2 tickets to that game with our 85 for 85 contest. We are 3 episodes away from our 85th episode coming up on October 17th, where we will announce the winner of that contest. If you want a chance to win 2 tickets to the Raiders game, log on to whodayfans.com/video, or I'm used to saying that one, whodayfans.com/85 for 85, and enter for a chance to win those tickets. Tim and I would be happy to hang out down at Paul Brown Stadium with 2 lucky winners. And, of course, Mickey will be tailgating as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Can't believe we're already in week 4 of the NFL season. That is going to wrap things up for this edition of Who-Dey Weekly. I need to find my outro music. There we go. Got it. Email us at podcast@whodayfans.com. And you can also follow us on Twitter at Who-Dey Weekly. Who-Dey Weekly is an SPNT production. For more information about our other podcasts, log on to spnt.tv. For my co-hosts, Mickey Menzer and Tim Bates, I'm Nick Suberling. Hey, we'll see you next time on Who-Dey Weekly. Who-Dey.
Who-Dey.